Hello friends. So let's continue. In the last class we were talking about the problem of recognition. Remember now, during the Renaissance, at the outbreak of the Renaissance, you can say, if you want to call it like that, it is like a sunrise. And so a revival of learning. So what we find is modern languages, that is vernaculars, they faced three problems. Problem of recognition, secondly the problem of orthography, that is writing, fixing the spelling and the alphabet. And the third one we saw is the problem of enrichment of the vocabulary. So we started discussing, you remember yesterday we started discussing the problem of recognition, and we found that so a lot of people supporting English. Among them we found the Merchant Lady School headmaster, Richard Mulcaster, he said, I love Rome and so on. That quotation you remember, no? Yes. I love Rome, I love the Latin, but I worship the English. That's what it is. I worship the English. And already we have seen three reasons. One is they were champions of modern languages. Secondly, we saw there was great popular demand to enjoy, to participate in this knowledge revolution. That is reading the books of the ancients, Aristotle, Plato, Cicero, Seneca, Caesar. Then you had other even Middle Ages, writers of Middle Ages, isn't it? Boethius, and you have got also the modern age, Middle Ages, and also modern age. So they wanted this now. So they wanted to learn. They wanted to study. They wanted to get in touch with this world that was in a way convulsed. The world that was convulsed by. There was a knowledge convulsion, if you want, you can call it like that. So they wanted to participate in that. They wanted to launch into this knowledge pool. If you want, you can call it like that also, isn't it? Yes. So they want to launch it, get into the pool of knowledge that was being created in the period of the beginning of Renaissance. So that is translations of great works. The translations of Aristotle and Plato and Rome, these historians especially, Thucydides. Then we had Tacitus, Livy, Isocrates, Xenophon. So these works written by Homer, the works written by these ancients, they were being translated and the people wanted to read it and understand it. Even those people who did not know Latin and Greek, they had got that desire, that greed, that desire, that, or you can say that desire to participate into this, in this knowledge pool. Understand? Now you can see, already we have seen three reasons. This is just, I was just narrating what we had been doing yesterday. So then you have got one, champions, and among the, Thomas Eliot and Richard Mulcaster. Second, we saw popular demand, and third, we saw translations. And now fourth is, again it's a very important, that movement actually, that wiped out Latin from its strongholds. That is the Great Reformation. The fourth point is Reformation. Reformation itself is a child of the Renaissance. When Martin Luther King, sorry, not King, when Martin Luther, he said, I protest. So there began the Protestant church. And John Wycliffe took his course, translations of scriptures, and he took his course directly to the people in a language that is known to them, that is English. There's no need of any translating. So he said, come on, you read it, you understand this, then you will know better. So the translations of scriptures by John Wycliffe and Calvin, the theologian, see, this became so accessible to the ordinary, to the public, ordinary people, the public. Even those people who have no idea about Latin, they could read and understand this. And they had this desire to know what is happening. Otherwise, it used to be a kind of mystery, no? Like suppose the church, in a church, one of the major worships is the Holy Mass. So once upon a day it was said in Latin. So the priest will say, Indroigo ad altare Dei. Simple language, if you understand. If you don't know that language, you will think, oh, something wonderful, terrible is going to happen. Indroigo ad altare Dei. Do you understand anything? Because you don't know Latin? Yes. What is the meaning? I go to the altar of God. That's all. I go to the altar of God. So straight away you can understand. Understand? So therefore, the people, they welcomed this. Again, that way they welcomed this and they were appreciating this. So, Protestant Reformation. Reformation itself as a child of Renaissance. And when the sacred truths were being discussed and explained in a language known to the ordinary people, the common people, one of the reasons why Latin should be used simply disappeared. So English gained its position. Understand? Now, as sixth reason we can see, fifth reason is the commercial side. Commercial side of it. That is, the demand for English books increased. Booksellers, there the shelves of the booksellers, Latin and Greek books remain there. No movement, but great demand for English books. Books translated in English. From pamphlets to serious books in philosophy and theology, there is great demand. So that pushed, so to say, or that gave a booster dose to the English language. In popular demand is the base. And the seventh is patriotic feeling. So the sixth, patriotic feeling. Patriotic feeling. That is, Englishmen, they were tired of hearing that English is useless, English cannot explain serious thoughts, English cannot be used for disputes in theology. If you use English or vernaculars, the learning will suffer, people will not understand this. You cannot take your English to some other part of Europe, they are fed up of hearing such remarks. Therefore, George Petty, these are people who were struggling along with the language itself. George Petty said, they count it barren, they count it barbarous. So you can take this down. They means those people who supported the classical language. They count it barren. They count it means English barren. So tired of hearing such things. They count it barbarous. They count it barbarous, uncultured. They count it unworthy to be accounted of. They count it unworthy to be accounted of. So that's a quotation by George Petty, one of the champions of English. So he said, we are tired of hearing this. So they count it barren. Yes. Does not produce any fruits. It is, we say something is barren means of no use. Isn't it? It is a waste. Just like that. English is a barren. They count it barbarous, uncultured. They count it unworthy to be counted off. Unimportant. Unimportant. So why should we take notice of that? So we are tired of this. We are tired of this, hearing such remarks. Therefore, champions of vernacular, that is English here in England, they appeal to people. Rise up. This is your language. This is our mother tongue. What is going to give you identity in the world is your mother tongue. So you use it. We are fed up with this kind of remarks. So that's the kind of an appeal by a writer, great writer of those days, George Petty. See that? And then a seventh reason is to those people who said that we don't know English, we can't understand English. This champion said, if you know Latin, then you can understand English better. So that is a revelation, isn't it? If you say that we know Latin, in that case, you can understand English better. So that's a kind of, what we must say, a remark. Or it's an encouragement. If you say, if you can run 4 miles, 4 kilometers, you can run 8 kilometers. It's a kind of encouragement you can say. So, it's a psychological lesson. It's giving confidence. Confidence. See, what gives you confidence? Repeated use of anything. Repeatedly doing anything that gives you confidence. That is the basics, so to say, of confidence. So I said, this is confidence building measure, you can say. The 7th is a confidence building. Yes. And in that case, what they have said is, if you know Latin, you know English better. So these are the 7 reasons why English towards the end of the century gained recognition as the national language of England. Along with that, you can say Shakespeare and all those other great writers also. Now, 2 or 3 quotations are very important. I think you have taken down these 7 reasons. 2 quotations by, you can say 3 people. If you feel like you can take this down and you can reproduce this in your answers, when you are answering questions on problem of recognition faced by vernaculars. The first one is by Richard Mulcaster. We have met him he was the headmaster of Merchant Taylor School, Richard Mulcaster. He said, I take this present period of our English tongue. I take this present period of our English tongue, T-U-N-G, that is pronunciation, that is the spelling. So this will lead you to the second problem, that is the orthography. So I take this present period of our English tongue to be the very height thereof. To be the very height thereof. See that? Because I find it so excellently well refined. Because I find it so excellently well refined. Spelling is 16th century spelling. Well refined, both for the body of the tongue itself, both for the body of the tongue itself. See, that means the language and for the customary writing thereof, and for the customary writing thereof. Very famous and very useful quotation. It tells you a story source. It tells you more than all these 7 courses that we have narrated. Because it comes from an authority, Richard Mulcaster. He says, I take this present period of our English tongue, that is 15th century, 16th century, present time, to be the very height thereof. So English tongue has reached the highest position, gained the highest position, because this is spelling, the spelling. I find it so excellently well refined, more than what you want. People said it is barbarous. People said it is barren. People said it is not to be counted. Now he says this is refined, both for the body of the tongue itself, is the language as such, its spelling, its pronunciation, its vocabulary, its grammar. When we speak about body of language, these are the syntax, usages, phrases. These are body of the tongue itself, and for the customary writing there. So whatever you want to write, you can write in that language. So summarizing, even if you forget all the 7 courses that we have just now narrated, just write this, you will get the 50% of the work is over. English, as far as the answer is concerned, the 50%, and also it's a good sentence, very flaw, there's a flaw. And it is loaded with meaning, loaded with patriotism, loaded with love of language, loaded with love of the mother tongue, loaded with a sense of identity, understand? And loaded with a sense of competition, the classical versus the vernacular, the fight, the battleground. So here, in this war, you can say, like the Battle of Hastings, Battle of Brunanburg, Battle of Malden, yes, no? we have come across all those things. No? So this is the battle of languages. And in this, the champions come out and declare that English is well developed, well refined, and it can be used for any purpose. You can discussions in philosophy, theology, astronomy, metaphysics, whatever you want, and translations. Then another person, Mulcaster is one, in 1583, you know that person we have already seen, Sir Philip Sidney. Sir Philip Sidney, sir. He said, Sir Philip Sidney. You know, you have come across this, no? Defense of poesy. So, as against horsemanship. Horsemanship. And somebody said, oh, horsemanship is the greatest skill. So he said like this, 1583 he said, for uttering sweetly and properly the conceit of the mind. He said, for uttering sweetly and properly, the conceit. Conceit means thought, conceit of the mind. So if you want to speak out sweetly and properly the ideas in your mind, which is the end of speech. Which is the end of speech. It's the function of speech. Function of speech, that means English. This is that. For uttering sweetly and properly the conceit of the mind, which is the end of speech. Expression is the end of speech. Hath it equally with any other tongue in the world. Hath means has. Hath it equally with any other tongue in the world. So there you are. What more you want? This is again a very famous quotation which you can use. For uttering sweetly and properly the conceit of the mind, expressing the conceit of the mind sweetly and properly, which is the end of speech, that English, that hath it. That hath means English hath it equally with any other tongue in the world. Compare it with any other language in this world. You will find that English has the power. English has the sweetness. English has the power to express. Of course, what is the end of speech? What is the function of speech? The end of speech, the function of speech is to express, to communicate. If you can't communicate in a language, then what is the use of that language? That's what happened at the Tower of Babel, you remember. They had language, but they could not communicate to each other. They could not understand what one person was saying to the other person. So Sir Philip Sidney, second quotation. And with one more quotation, we come to the end of the discussion. That is the recognition, the problem of recognition. And this is that is in 1595. Richard Carew in 1595. So in 1595 he said, you know what did he say? He wrote that a discourse on the excellency of the English tongue. He wrote a discourse on the excellency of the English tongue. So now you can see these quotations, this discourse, etc. They stand solid proof to the maturity, to the beauty, to the sweetness, to the ability of the language to express any and every thought that comes to your mind, and which is the end of any language. Expression and communication. So with this, as I have already told you, by the end of this century, the 16th century almost, English had one recognition. It was treated equal to the classical languages. That's what we want. Because we are discussing this problem of recognition. So the problem of recognition was solved. No more people will say it's barbarous, it is inadequate, it is barren, it should not be taken into account. It's used by countrymen. Country means uncivilized people. The townsmen and the upper class people use only Latin and Greek. Only Latin and Greek. We can have discussions on philosophy. Esteemed poetry can be written only in Latin. These things. No more. No, sir, no. No such remarks. Because it has achieved the equal status as that of any classical language in the world. So at par with Latin or Greek. So no more problem of recognition. Very nice. With this optimistic note, for the time being, we will say bye. We will continue with the next problem. Our next problem is the problem of orthography. I hope you have been following and enjoying these classes. Very rewarding and very challenging, that we know, if you know the history of the English language, say if you can recall things like this, right from the origin of language up to Renaissance, that is Old English, Middle English, then influences on English, then we have got the characteristics of Old English literature, the Norman conquest and its effects, re-establishment of English, Latin influence, Celtic influence, Scandinavian influence, etc. Latin influence for time. Oh, it's wonderful to remember this thing, isn't it? So if you can remember and we can enjoy this, it's a great advantage for us as students of English literature. Students of English literature, as student, I am also a student. I was a student, I continue to be a student. I want to be a student, I want to continue as a student. Not only just stop reading and studying. Okay? So that's why very often I say, no, if you find any mistakes and faults, please inform me so that I can correct. There is always a space for correction. Understand? So because nobody is omniscient. Omniscient means all-knowing. No, not at all. Okay, all those things comes later. So for the time being, bye. See you again. Have a nice time.